Well, Secretary John Kerry made some public remarks this afternoon about the crisis in Ukraine, but made no mention of his controversial comments about Israel. Yesterday, a tape surfaced from a Friday meeting in which the secretary said Israel risks becoming an apartheid state, a reference to how the government of South Africa found itself isolated from the world back in the 1970s and 80s, among other implications. Brooke Goldstein is a human rights attorney and director of the Lawfare Project. So he made these remarks in private on Friday. The Daily Beast first reported them. We got our hands on the audio, and it's a very controversial thing. It's basically like accusing Israel of identifying with the Holocaust perpetrators to suggest that this is going to be an apartheid state if they don't come to this agreement with the Palestinians. So he had to walk it back. And last night he did in a paper statement basically saying he would have chosen a different word, and that's a word best left out of the debate here at home. Is that enough? Did he get it right? And if so, which time?
You know, I think he got it right in the sense that we are on the path towards creating an apartheid state. But that state is not going to be Israel. That's going to be the future Palestinian state. And how do we know this? Just look at how Hamas treats its civilians in Gaza, how it treats its political opponents. It executes them, how it treats its women. It encourages honor violence against women. Hamas's own charter calls for the genocide of Jews. Look at the Palestinian Authority. Their laws require the death penalty for anyone who does business with Jews. Palestinian Authority officials have come out and said any future Palestinian state has to be ethnically cleansed of Jews. So the apartheid state that we are encouraging is the future Palestinian state. And for Kerry to assign a malicious intent to the Jewish state where none exists, and to ignore the fact Israel exists in a sea of Arab apartheid Islamist states, I think is quite ingenuous. He's
frustrated because he's tried to push through this peace process on his own time frame, and it's not working. They're not listening to him like they haven't been listening to anybody. And Israel just basically walked away from the process because the Palestinians just got into bed with Hamas and said, okay, let's be BFFs. We're going to partner with Hamas, this organization that Brooks just described. And Israel said, forget it. How are we supposed to work with this? And it sounded like in those remarks he was making a condemnation of Israel, which is why so many in the Israel lobby, or whatever you call it, got upset with his remarks and wanted him to do even more than this. They wanted him to apologize, which he has not yet done.
Right, and he's retracted his statement, and I commend him for that. And I also understand, you know, Kerry has made a lot of mistakes. He's overwhelmed. He's very frustrated. But his facts are confused. And I think what the viewers need to know is the very simple premise that in order for there to be peace, you need two parties who want to end conflict. And if you are a student of history, you know that that is not the case. You know, time and time again in 48, in 67, in 78, and still to today, Israel's Arab neighbors have declared war, have declared a genocidal intent to annihilate the Jewish state. And Kerry is very frustrated. The Israelis are very frustrated.
Then why is he saying that? Because when I look at his record, they say that actually he has a very good voting record on Israel, according to AIPAC, which is a group that, you know, is very concerned about this. And they come out and say he's got a 100%, he's got a near perfect voting record on Israel. And John McCain actually came out and laughed at the suggestion by Ted Cruz and others that he should be forced to step down as a result of this. But what mindset does it reveal?
You know, I'm not quite sure why the U.S. Secretary of State thinks that engaging in personal attacks and getting emotional is the way deal with the Middle East situation. I mean, if you look at how Kissinger behaved, he was cold. I mean, he would make statements that could be interpreted in different ways by different parties. That's how a diplomat behaves. You don't go around chastising one party if you're trying to reach an agreement between two parties, and you don't go around ignoring the very obvious fact that the Palestinians have never been a democracy. They have never respected human rights. They have time and time again refused offers to create a Palestinian state, and that their future is in their hands.
Brooke, good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.